I stood in the doorway of my daughter Emma's room, watching helplessly as my mother-in-law, Margaret, supervised two housekeepers stripping the bed of my daughter's favorite galaxy print sheets. Really, Sarah? Margaret sniffed, directing the staff to replace them with her own Egyptian cotton linens. These childish decorations are hardly appropriate for Cassandra. She's used to a certain standard. My daughter clutched her beloved telescope to her chest, tears threatening to spill as her astronomy posters were systematically removed from the walls. The space she'd carefully curated over the years, each star chart and NASA photo representing hours of passion and study, was being dismantled to accommodate her more refined cousin. "Mom," Emma whispered, "where will I sleep?" Before I could answer, Margaret cut in. "The basement has a perfectly serviceable cot. Really, given your circumstances, you should be grateful we're allowing you to stay in the house at all." By circumstances, she meant the fact that Emma had earned a scholarship to Preston Academy, rather than having her way bought in like Cassandra. In Margaret's world, merit meant nothing compared to money. "That's enough, Margaret," I started, but she waved me off. "Sarah, dear, need I remind you that this house belongs to my son? And while he's away on business, I'm responsible for maintaining certain standards. Cassandra's family is contributing significantly to Preston's new performing arts center. We can't have her sleeping in." She gestured dismissively at Emma's science awards. The irony of her statement made my stomach clench. James, my husband, had been away for 3 months, finalizing our company's acquisition of several luxury properties, including, though Margaret didn't know it yet, this very house. "The basement isn't properly heated," I protested. Then she should have thought of that before choosing to focus on her little star projects instead of proper social connections like Cassandra. Margaret's smile was pure venom wrapped in social grace. "Though I suppose we can't expect better from your influence." The doorbell rang, announcing Cassandra's arrival. Margaret's face lit up with the same adoration she never showed her own granddaughter. "Remember," she hissed as footsteps approached, "not a word about Emma's usual sleeping arrangements. We don't want to embarrass the family by advertising that we let scholarship children use the main bedrooms." My 14-year-old niece swept in, her designer clothes and professionally styled hair making her look like a mini Margaret. Behind her, my sister-in-law Diana carried what looked like an entire department store's worth of shopping bags. "Aunt Margaret," Cassandra air-kissed her grandmother's cheeks. "This room is quaint. You've had it cleaned, right? After, you know." Emma flinched. I saw her grip tighten on her telescope, her knuckles white. "Of course, darling, and I had the sheets replaced with the ones you prefer. We want you comfortable for your big audition week." Diana beamed. The Preston Academy theater director practically guaranteed her the lead, especially after George's donation. "Mom," Emma whispered, "my science fair project materials can go to the basement with the rest of your things," Margaret cut in. "Cassandra needs space for her costumes. Diana, you should see the little area we've arranged for Emma, so appropriate for her station." I watched my daughter's shoulders slump as she gathered her beloved science materials, the same projects that had won her national recognition and earned her the scholarship Margaret so despised. "Actually," I said quietly, "Emma's staying in her room." The silence was immediate. Margaret turned slowly, her perfect eyebrows arched in disapproval. "Sarah, we've discussed this. Cassandra needs nothing that requires my daughter to sleep in an unheated basement," I finished, "in her own home." Diana laughed nervously. "Sarah, be reasonable. This is James's house, and Mother is just trying to what?" I interrupted, "to teach my daughter that her achievements mean nothing compared to your daughter's trust fund." "How dare you?" Margaret stepped forward. "After we took you in, gave you a roof over your head." "Gave?" I felt 13 years of suppressed anger rising. "Would you like to discuss exactly who's giving what to whom, Margaret?" "Mom," Emma touched my arm, "it's okay. I can use the basement. I don't want to cause trouble." The sight of my brilliant, kind daughter trying to make herself smaller, trying to accommodate the cruelty of her own family, made something snap inside me. "No, sweetheart," I said firmly. "You won't be sleeping in the basement. In fact," I turned to Margaret, "I think it's time we had a family meeting about sleeping arrangements and ownership, and exactly who's been giving what to whom." Margaret's perfectly lined lips curled into a sneer. "James left me in charge while he's away. Unless you'd like to find alternative accommodation for you and your scholarship child. My phone buzzed. A text from James. The contracts were signed. The transfer was complete. I smiled, reaching for Emma's telescope before Margaret could have it removed to the basement. Actually, Margaret, let's talk about who's really in charge here, and why Emma's astronomy projects are about to become a permanent fixture in this house's main study. What do you mean? Margaret's voice held a note of uncertainty I'd never heard before. James left explicit instructions. About the house? I interrupted, my phone displaying the confirmation email from our lawyers. Yes, he did. To me, the new owner. Diana's perfectly manicured hand flew to her throat. That's impossible. This house has been in the Hamilton family for generations. And it still is, I smiled. Just not the branch you expected. The sound of more cars pulling up outside drew everyone to the window. A moving truck and several vehicles with the Starlight Industries logo were parking in the circular driveway. What is this? Margaret demanded, her composure cracking as uniformed workers began unloading equipment. I didn't authorize. You don't have to. I cut in smoothly. I did. You see, while you've been busy ensuring everyone knows about George's donation to Preston Academy's theater, my little technology company has been quietly acquiring properties, including this one. Emma's eyes widened as understanding dawned. Mom, does this mean? Yes, sweetheart. The observatory we discussed. The one for your research project. The contractors are here to start construction. Cassandra laughed nervously. But where will I practice my scenes? The basement has excellent acoustics, I suggested, though it might be a bit cold. Margaret's face had gone from porcelain pale to mottled red. This is preposterous. Sarah, whatever game you're playing is no game. James's voice came from the doorway. He'd arrived just in time to witness the aftermath of his mother's latest power play. Hello, Mother. I see you're redecorating again, without permission, in my wife's house. Your wife's? Diana sputtered. James, surely you didn't. Sign over the family estate to Sarah's company? Actually, I did. 3 months ago, right after I heard about the last time you forced Emma to sleep in the servants' quarters during Cassandra's summer stay. The revelation hit like a thunderbolt. Margaret staggered back, gripping a bedpost for support. But the Hamilton legacy will continue, I assured her. Through the daughter you spent years trying to diminish. Emma's research grant, the one you mockingly called her Little Star Project. It's being funded by NASA. They're quite interested in her theories about deep space observation. Cassandra's face crumpled into an ugly scowl. But what about my audition? My performance? We'll have to rely on actual talent rather than donated theater wings, James said firmly. It's time this family remembered what real achievement looks like. The workers had begun bringing in sophisticated astronomical equipment, transforming Emma's room into the research space she dreamed of. Margaret watched in horror as her carefully curated guest room setup was dismantled. The basement suite is available, I offered sweetly, though you might want to bring extra blankets. The heating is rather temperamental. You can't do this, Diana protested. We have rights. Actually, James produced another document. As of now, you're all technically guests in our home. Guests who can be asked to leave at any time. Emma, who had remained quiet throughout the confrontation, finally spoke up. Grandma, do you want to know what hurts the most? I would have happily shared my room with Cassandra. If you just asked, if you'd seen me as family instead of someone to push aside. Margaret's face crumpled as the full weight of her actions, and their consequences, hit her. The movers will help you relocate your things to the basement, I said. Unless you prefer to find alternative accommodation. After all, we wouldn't want to embarrass the family by having you sleep in, what did you call it? Inappropriate conditions. The next few hours transformed not just Emma's room, but the entire power dynamic of our family. As workers installed state-of-the-art telescopes and monitoring equipment, Margaret, Diana, and Cassandra huddled in the basement, experiencing firsthand the accommodations they'd once deemed good enough for my daughter. Mom, Emma whispered, watching her cousin sullenly drag her designer luggage down the basement stairs. Will they hate us now? I wrapped an arm around her shoulders. Sweetheart, their feelings about us were never based on love to begin with. But maybe now they'll learn something about respect. James joined us, his expression torn between satisfaction and regret. I should have stopped this years ago. Every time Mother belittled you both, every time she treated Emma like a second-class citizen in her own home. The timing had to be right, I said, squeezing his hand. Sometimes the best lessons come when people are forced to live with the consequences of their own cruelty. From below came the sound of Cassandra's outraged shriek. Apparently she'd just discovered the basement's spotty Wi-Fi coverage. This is inhumane. Diana's voice carried up the stairs. Cassandra needs proper conditions for her audition preparation. Funny, I called down. It was perfectly humane when it was Emma sleeping there during her national science competition. Margaret appeared at the foot of the stairs, her perfect hair now slightly disheveled. Sarah, please, surely we can discuss this reasonably. As family. Family? Emma stepped forward, her voice steady. Was it family when you made me hide my science trophies because they embarrassed Cassandra? When you told everyone at Preston that I was only there because of a clerical error? For the first time, I saw genuine shame cross Margaret's face. The basement suite is available for 2 more days, I announced. After that, I suggest you make other arrangements. The construction team needs the space for Emma's research equipment. Research equipment? Cassandra emerged, mascara smeared. But what about my performance space? The local community theater has an excellent youth program. I smiled. They even offer scholarships, though you might have to earn one on merit rather than money. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. James cleared his throat. Mother Diana, I've arranged rooms at the Hamilton Hotel. Unless you prefer to stay here and experience exactly what you've been putting my daughter through. Margaret straightened her spine, trying to salvage some dignity. This isn't over, Sarah. The Hamilton name belongs to all of us, I cut in, including the brilliant young scientist you've spent years trying to diminish. Emma's research could change our understanding of deep space. What's Cassandra's contribution beyond spending her father's money? Diana gasped but couldn't formulate a response. As they gathered their belongings, Emma turned to her cousin. You know, Cassandra, I would have helped you with your audition. I've studied acoustics as part of my physics research, but you never even asked. Cassandra's face flickered with something, regret, perhaps, or the first inkling that she'd lost something more valuable than a comfortable room. Standing in Emma's newly transformed space, watching her run her hands lovingly over the professional-grade equipment, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. No longer would my daughter dim her light to make others comfortable. The observatory construction starts tomorrow, James announced. Mother, I trust you'll inform the country club that their newest board member won't be requiring that membership after all. Margaret's face crumpled as another piece of her social standing slipped away. Sometimes the best revenge isn't in causing pain, but in forcing people to see themselves clearly in the mirror of their own actions. As the sun set over our newly reclaimed home, Emma's telescope captured its first images of the night sky. Below, we could hear the muffled complaints about basement accommodations. Mom, Emma smiled, adjusting her equipment. I think I can see Jupiter tonight. Want to look? I hugged her close, watching her grandmother and aunt struggle with their luggage on the service stairs, the same stairs they forced Emma to use for years. Of course, sweetheart. After all, the stars shine just as brightly whether you're viewing them from the penthouse or the basement. Some people just take longer to learn that lesson. I first noticed the hair loss 3 months after moving into the Sullivan estate. Small clumps on my pillow, strands that seemed too cleanly cut rather than naturally fallen. My husband James dismissed my concerns with practiced ease. Darling, it's just the stress of managing the estate, he'd say, his green eyes never quite meeting mine. Mother said it's common for new wives to feel overwhelmed. Ah yes, Mother. Victoria Sullivan, with her waist-length silver hair that never seemed to thin despite her age. She'd been oddly fixated on my thick black hair since James first introduced us, often reaching out to touch it during family dinners. Such lovely hair, she'd murmur, her fingers lingering too long. So full of vitality. I started waking up with headaches, feeling groggy even after a full night's sleep. The hair loss continued, always in neat sections, always while I slept. When I suggested installing security cameras in our bedroom, both James and Victoria vetoed the idea immediately. The Sullivan estate has traditions, dear, Victoria said during breakfast, stirring her tea with precise movements. Privacy is sacred here. But Marcus, our new head of security, didn't know about these traditions when he upgraded the estate's surveillance system. He caught me alone in the garden one morning, his expression troubled. "Mrs. Sullivan," he said quietly, "I think you should see something." The footage was from 3 nights ago. The timestamp read 3:33 am when Victoria entered our bedroom, wearing a long white nightgown, her silver hair loose around her shoulders. James was awake, standing by the window watching. In Victoria's hands were an ornate pair of silver scissors and a crystal bowl. I watched in horror as they performed what was clearly a practice routine. James gently turned my sleeping head while Victoria carefully selected sections of my hair, cut them with reverence, and placed them in the bowl. They whispered in what sounded like Latin, my husband responding to his mother's chants like a well-trained altar boy. "This isn't the first time," Marcus said, switching to other footage. "They do this every month, always at 3:33 am, always during the waning moon." The dates aligned perfectly with my worst episodes of hair loss and grogginess. The tea, I realized. She always insists I drink her special tea before bed on those nights. Marcus nodded grimly. "There's more. I found us in the East Wing." The next video showed Victoria's private study, a room I had been expressly forbidden from entering. In it, she and James stood over a large copper basin, my hair floating in some kind of liquid. Victoria was adding ingredients, herbs, oils, and something dark that looked suspiciously like blood. "Preserve our youth, maintain our beauty," they chanted. "Through sacrifice, through borrowed vitality." "I've seen this before," Marcus said quietly. "In my grandmother's village, they called it beauty theft, using another person's essence to maintain youth." That explained Victoria's ageless appearance, her mysteriously perfect hair. She was literally stealing my vitality. "James knows," I whispered. "He's helping her." "The male Sullivans always do," a voice said from the doorway. We turned to find Agnes, the elderly housekeeper who'd served the family for 40 years. "It's how she keeps them loyal," Agnes continued, her hands trembling slightly. "She takes from the wives and shares the youth with her sons." "Why do you think James still looks 25 at 38? The security footage continued to play, showing more ritual scenes. Victoria leading a procession of society women through the estate's underground chapel, each carrying crystal bowls of hair. James and other young-looking men assisting their elderly mothers in similar ceremonies. "It's not just the Sullivans," Agnes explained. "All the old families do it. They choose wives for their vitality, their life force. The prettier the hair, the stronger the essence." "How many wives?" I asked, though I feared the answer. "James had 2 before you," Agnes said softly. "They left after their hair started falling out. The lucky ones escaped early. The others—" She didn't need to finish. The footage showed a hidden room filled with wigs, dozens of them, each labeled with a name and date. "Trophies," Marcus said, "like hunters mounting their kills." I touched my hair, understanding now why Victoria had been so insistent that I grow it out after the wedding. I was their crop, their sacrifice, their fountain of youth. "There's a gathering tomorrow night," Agnes whispered. "The dark moon ceremony. All the families come together to share their harvests." Marcus pulled up the security schedule. "The East Wing will be closed for a private event. Mrs. Sullivan personally approved the staff list." "Show me everything," I demanded. "Every footage, every entrance, every participant." For the next hour, we watched years of archived security footage that Marcus had discovered. Women entering the Sullivan estate looking vibrant and leaving months later, drained and hollow-eyed. Victoria hosting elaborate tea parties that were actually recruitment sessions for new victims. James and other sons learning the rituals at their mother's knees. Tonight, Victoria had said in one video, "You'll learn how to properly prepare your wife's tea. Remember, the dosage must be precise. Too little, she'll wake up. Too much." "What do you want to do?" Marcus asked as the last video ended. I thought of James, my husband, the man I trusted, watching me sleep while his mother harvested pieces of me. I thought of Victoria, wearing her stolen youth like a crown, teaching her son to betray his wives for beauty. "First," I said, "we gather evidence. Then we destroy their entire harvesting operation." "The ceremony tomorrow," Agnes suggested. "All the families will be there, all their victims' proof in one place. They'll be expecting me to drink the tea," I mused, "but this time we'll be ready." Marcus nodded, pulling up the estate blueprints. "I can have backup stationed here and here. But Mrs. Sullivan, you'll have to play your part perfectly. Oh, I will. I touched my steadily fitting hair. I've been cast as their sacrifice long enough. Time to become the destroyer instead. As we planned, I could hear Victoria's voice drifting up from her study, practicing the ceremony chants. Soon she would call me for our daily tea, watching with those ageless eyes as I drank my own destruction. But tonight, the tea would lead to a very different ritual. More tea, dear. Victoria's smile was honey poison as she lifted the silver pot. The afternoon sun caught her perfect hair, each strand a trophy stolen from women like me. Of course, Mother. I watched her pour, noting the slight tremor in her hands. Excitement for tonight's ceremony, no doubt. Marcus had spent the morning documenting the estate's hidden spaces. Behind the wine cellar, beneath the chapel, a network of ritual rooms waited. Each one was equipped with copper basins, crystal bowls, and walls lined with photographs. Before and after shots of their victims. The Ashworths will be joining us tonight, Victoria mentioned casually. Their new daughter-in-law has such lovely red hair. So vital. I thought of the red-headed woman I'd seen at last month's garden party, radiant and unsuspecting. Another lamb for their harvest. Speaking of tonight, James entered, kissing his mother's cheek before settling beside me. Darling, you'll wear the white nightgown I bought you. The one that made access to my hair easier, I realize now. Wouldn't miss it for the world. Agnes had shown me the ceremony records she'd secretly kept for decades. 37 wives. 37 harvests. Some disappeared entirely, their vitality completely drained for the annual rejuvenation ritual. Such a good girl, Victoria approved. So different from James's previous wives. They were difficult. What happened to them? I asked innocently. The Marcus had already found the answers in sealed medical records. They chose to leave, James said smoothly. Couldn't handle the responsibilities of being a Sullivan. Couldn't handle being slowly drained to death, more likely. The records showed one in a mental hospital, one in a permanent coma, and one simply missing. I sipped the tea, watching Victoria's eyes track my every swallow. What she didn't know was that Marcus had replaced her special blend with regular chamomile. Tonight, I would be wide awake. The moon is perfect for tonight, Victoria continued. The darkness aids the transfer of essence. Transfer of essence, such a delicate way to describe the theft of life force. The security footage had revealed their entire process. The harvested hair mixed with blood and herbs, distilled into an elixir that the family matriarchs shared with their chosen children. At 3 p.m., the other families began arriving. I watched from our bedroom window as expensive cars pulled up. Women with impossibly perfect hair helped their elderly mothers, all of them carrying crystal bowls and silver scissors. Mrs. Sullivan, Marcus appeared at my door. Everything is in place. We had contacted every surviving victim we could find. 15 women, all bearing the same scars, all willing to testify. The police would arrive at exactly 3:33 a.m. when the ceremony reached its peak. The cameras, I whispered, hidden in every ritual room. Detective Morrison has a live feed. At midnight, Victoria came to help me prepare. Her fingers lingered on my hair as she brushed it, practically salivating at the thought of harvesting it. You'll make us so proud tonight, she murmured. Your essence is particularly strong. James chose well this time. I thought of the hidden room's wigs, each one labeled with a wife's name and final harvest date. The ceremony began at 3 a.m. 20 elderly women in white, their sons beside them, gathered in the underground chapel. I recognized society names, old money faces, all of them part of this vampiric beauty cult. Bring forth the new vessels, Victoria announced. 5 young wives were led forward, all drugged and docile. The redhead from the garden party swayed slightly, her eyes unfocused. The harvest moon blesses us, the matriarchs chanted, youth eternal through willing sacrifice. Willing, as if we had any choice. At 3:30 a.m., they positioned us over copper basins. I felt James's hands on my shoulders, steadying me for his mother's scissors. Such beauty, Victoria whispered, selecting her first strand. Such perfect sacrifice. 3:32 a.m., the scissors lifted. 3:33 a.m., the doors burst open. Police, nobody move. The chaos was magnificent. Society matriarchs dropped their crystal bowls, centuries of stolen youth shattering on stone floors. Sons tried to shield their mothers, only to be handcuffed alongside them. Victoria's face contorted with rage as Detective Morrison read her rights. "You ungrateful witch. We would have made you immortal." "I prefer growing old naturally," I replied, watching James being led away, without stealing other women's lives. The evidence was overwhelming. Hidden rooms filled with victims' hair, recipe books detailing the essence extraction process, financial records showing millions spent covering up disappearances. The Sullivan Beauty Cult, the headlines read the next day. Centuries of society women stealing youth through ritual sacrifice. Marcus helped the police document everything. Agnes testified about decades of witness ceremonies, but most damning were the survivors who came forward, each sharing stories of drug teas and midnight harvests. In the aftermath, we discovered the cult's true reach. Judges, doctors, police chiefs, all with impossibly young-looking mothers, all participating in the harvests. The entire upper crust of society had fed on stolen youth for generations. Victoria and her inner circle faced multiple charges: assault, false imprisonment, conspiracy. James and the other sons were charged as accessories. "You've destroyed centuries of tradition," Victoria spat during her arraignment. "Our beauty was our birthright." "Your beauty was stolen," I corrected. "And now everyone knows." We converted the Sullivan estate into a recovery center for cult survivors. The hidden ritual rooms became therapy spaces. The copper basins were melted down to make plaques honoring the victims. My hair slowly grew back, natural and uncut. Each new strand represented freedom from their beautiful, terrible legacy. Sometimes I visit Victoria in prison. Her hair is gray now, her true age showing. She stares at my healthy locks with hungry eyes, but her harvesting days are over. "We could have been magnificent together," she always says. "We could have been human," I reply. The society pages still whisper about the beauty cult, but the whispers are warnings now, a reminder that true beauty can't be stolen, only earned through living authentically, even if that means growing old with grace. 1 year after their arrests, I sat in Dr. Morrison's office, reviewing files from other suspected beauty cults across the country. The Sullivan case had cracked open a nationwide network of youth harvesting rings, each with its own twisted rituals. Seattle just found another group, the detective said, spreading out photos. They were using ballet schools as recruitment centers. Young dancers disappearing after special private performances. The images showed another hidden chamber, another collection of labeled hair. The same copper basins, the same crystal bowls. Victoria's influence had spread far beyond Boston's social circles. "The mothers are all connected," I noted, tracking financial records. Same Swiss banks, same offshore accounts. They called it the Preservation Fund. Marcus, now working as a consultant for cult investigations, entered with new security footage. "You need to see this. It's from Victoria's prison cell." The video showed my former mother-in-law receiving visitors, other society women who hadn't been caught. Even behind bars, she was holding court, teaching her methods. "The ritual cannot die," she whispered to them. "Our daughters must learn the old ways." "They're training the next generation," Marcus warned. "Younger women, harder to trace." We'd found Victoria's private journals during the estate cleanup, pages of detailed instructions for selecting victims. Choose those with no family connections. Strong hair indicates strong essence. The younger the vessel, the purer the harvest. James wrote to me from prison, his letters a mix of apology and justification. "You have to understand," he pleaded. "We were preserving something beautiful. Mother only wanted perfection to survive." I never responded, let him rot with his perfectly preserved conscience. The recovery center welcomed new survivors daily, women with patchy, unevenly cut hair and hollow eyes. We offered them safety, therapy, and most importantly, the truth about what had been done to them. They called it beauty enhancement therapy, one victim testified. Said we were chosen for our special energy. By the time we realized what was happening, the drugs made it impossible to fight back. Ames helped identify more cult members from her years of service. "The signs were always there," she said. Women who never age, mothers and daughters who looked like sisters, young wives who suddenly developed nervous conditions and disappeared. The society pages, once filled with glowing coverage of Victoria's charity galas, Now ran exposes on the beauty cult's victims. Photos of before and after, stories of survivors, warnings about recruitment tactics. They're still out there, Detective Morrison cautioned during a support group meeting. Adapting, evolving, trading crystal bowls for modern equipment, but the ritual remains the same. I touched my fully regrown hair, remembering the sound of silver scissors in the night. But now we know what to look for. We turned the Sullivans' ritual rooms into a museum of sorts, educating law enforcement about cult practices. The copper basins, the ceremonial scissors, the detailed logs of harvests, all evidence of humanity's desperate pursuit of eternal youth. Victoria's final appeal was denied last week. As they led her back to her cell, her once silver hair now stringy and gray, she called out to me. "You could have been part of something eternal," she said. "We offered you immortality." "You offered me theft," I replied. "There's nothing eternal about stolen time." The Recovery Center hosted its first graduation ceremony yesterday. 20 survivors, their hair growing back naturally, their eyes clear of fear. We burned Victoria's ritual books in the courtyard, watching centuries of toxic beauty standards turn to ash. James sent one last letter from prison. "Mother still believes you'll understand someday. When age starts taking your beauty, you'll wish you'd let us preserve it." I wrote back a single line: "Real beauty grows old." The society whispers have changed. Young wives warn each other about two perfect mothers-in-law. Suspicious tea is left untouched. Security cameras are installed in private rooms. The beauty cult's power lay in secrecy and shame. In the light of exposure, they're withering like flowers without water. Yesterday, I found my first gray hair. Instead of plucking it, I smiled. Let it grow. Let it shine. Let it be a symbol of beauty earned through living, not stolen through ritual. The copper basins are melted down. The crystal bowls are shattered. The silver scissors are evidence now, their harvesting days done. But somewhere, in shadowy corners of high society, mothers are still teaching daughters the old ways. The hunger for eternal youth never truly dies. So we stay vigilant. We tell our stories. We protect the next generation of potential vessels. Because real beauty can't be harvested. It has to be lived. The antique chandelier cast flickering shadows across the mahogany staircase as guests mingled below, their laughter echoing through the 3-story Victorian mansion. I stood at the top of the stairs, adjusting my emerald silk dress. The one Marcus had insisted I wear tonight, despite my protests about the long hem. "It's perfect for the occasion," he'd said that morning, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. "Trust me, darling." Now, watching him work the crowd of investors and socialites below, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Marcus had been oddly insistent about every detail of this party: the date, the guest list, even the exact time I should descend the stairs to make our annual toast. Mrs. Hamilton. I turned to find an elegant woman in her 50s standing in the shadowed hallway. Her silver hair was perfectly coiffed, but her eyes held an urgency that made my skin prickle. "I'm Sarah Davis from Wellington Trust," she said quietly. "We need to talk. Now." "I can't." I gestured to the crowd below. "The toast is exactly what I need to warn you about." She gripped my arm. "Your husband's grandmother didn't die from falling down these stairs 20 years ago. Neither did his first wife, or the woman he was engaged to before you." The room seemed to tilt. "What are you talking about?" "Elizabeth?" Marcus's voice carried up from below. "Darling, everyone's waiting." Sarah pressed a USB drive into my hand. "Don't go down those stairs. I have proof." "There you are." Marcus appeared at the top of the staircase, his face a perfect mask of charm. "Sarah, I didn't know you were coming tonight." "Just leaving, actually." Sarah's smile was brittle. "Your wife and I were discussing the trust fund arrangements." Marcus's hand found the small of my back, fingers digging in slightly. "Elizabeth handles none of that, I'm afraid. Family policy." "Of course." Sarah met my eyes. "Remember what I said about the arrangements, Mrs. Hamilton. Every detail matters." She turned and disappeared down the hallway, leaving me with the USB drive burning in my clutch and Marcus's hand pressing me toward the stairs. "Shall we?" His smile remained fixed. "Everyone's excited about the announcement." "Announcement?" This wasn't part of the plan. "What announcement?" "The merger, darling. Harrison Phillips is buying us out. Tonight's the perfect time to tell everyone." Harrison Phillips. the company that had also bought out his previous wife's family business just weeks before her fatal fall. The USB drive felt heavier now. Marcus, I don't feel well. Maybe we should. Don't be silly. His grip tightened. You look beautiful. Like a picture. He paused. Exactly like the picture they'll use in tomorrow's papers. Ice slid down my spine as pieces clicked into place. The specific dress, the precise timing, the way he'd insisted I wear my grandmother's heavy diamond necklace despite its loose clasp. Marcus. I started to step back, but his hand clamped around my wrist. Time for your grand entrance, darling. The first push was subtle, just enough to make me stumble. As I caught the banister, I saw his face change. The mask slipped, revealing something cold and calculated beneath. Marcus, please. The second push was harder. I grabbed the railing with both hands. The USB drive clattered to the floor. Below, guests were turning, pointing, some reaching for phones. Perfect witnesses, I realized. They'd all see my tragic accident. Let me help you, darling. Marcus's voice was loud, performative. You seem unsteady. His hands found my shoulders. In the crowd below, I spotted Sarah Davis pushing through the guests, phone raised. She was recording. Time slowed. I saw Marcus' reflection in the massive mirror on the landing, saw his arms tense for the final push. I saw the same expression he must have worn 3 times before on this same staircase. But I also saw something he didn't, the antique runner beneath our feet, the one he'd so carefully positioned earlier. As his arms shot forward, I dropped and rolled left. The loose carpet, freed from my weight, slid exactly as physics demanded. Marcus, thrown off balance by his own momentum, pitched forward. His cry of surprise turned to real fear as he tumbled past me. I caught a final glimpse of his face, shock replacing calculation, before he hit the first landing. The sound silenced the party instantly. Someone call an ambulance. Sarah's voice cut through the shock. She was already running up the stairs, phone still recording. Mrs. Hamilton, don't move. The police are on their way. The USB drive, I gasped, pointing to where it had fallen. He'll claim. We have everything. Sarah helped me up. The trust fund transactions, the insurance policies, the pattern of accidents going back 20 years. Tonight was just to get final proof. Below, Marcus wasn't moving. Guests surrounded him, some checking for a pulse, others whispering and pointing up at me. I should have felt something, fear, grief, guilt. Instead, I felt only a profound emptiness as I watched my husband's perfect mask finally crack. He's breathing, someone called. Barely. Sarah's arm steadied me. The police will want a statement. Are you ready to tell them everything? I touched the loose clasp of my grandmother's necklace, the one Marcus had carefully sabotaged, meant to be found broken beside my body. Yes, I said. Every detail matters. The hospital waiting room buzzed with whispered conversations and the occasional flash of a phone camera. I sat with Sarah, clutching a paper cup of cold coffee while detectives interviewed witnesses down the hall. The footage is clear, Sarah murmured, showing me her phone. He deliberately positioned you, checked the carpet, everything. Classic premeditation. On a screen, I watched Marcus's practice performance from just hours earlier. The concerned husband, rushing to help his dizzy wife. If I hadn't moved at the last second. What made you start investigating? I asked, unable to take my eyes off the video. Sarah's face darkened. I handled his grandmother's estate. The accident never sat right with me. A healthy woman who'd lived in that house for 40 years suddenly forgetting about that loose carpet. Then King Jessica, his first wife. Same stairs, same story. When Rachel, his fiancée, died before the wedding, I knew. But you couldn't prove it. Not until he married you. She pulled out a thick file. The pattern was identical. First he'd arranged large life insurance policies. Then came property transfers, moving assets into his name. Finally, a convenient business merger right before each accident. My hands shook as I opened the file. Photos of 3 women smiled back at me, each in her 30s, each a successful businesswoman, all dead. The Harrison Phillips connection, I asked. They bought out each family's company at a fraction of its worth right after the deaths. Marcus got finder's fees, stock options, board positions. The perfect setup. A doctor appeared in the doorway. Mrs. Hamilton, your husband is asking for you. Sarah gripped my arm. Don't go alone. I need to see him, I said. I need to know why. Detective Morgan, a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s, stepped forward. We'll be right outside. Wear this. She handed me a small recording device. Get him talking if you can. Marcus lay in the hospital bed, his normally perfect appearance shattered by bandages and bruises. His right leg was elevated, encased in a cast. Elizabeth. His voice was weak, but his eyes were calculating. Come to finish the job? You tried to kill me, Marcus. Prove it, he smiled thinly. I was trying to help my dizzy wife. Everyone saw that. Your little stunt with the carpet could have killed me. Like you killed the others. A flicker of surprise crossed his face. What others? Your grandmother. Jessica, Rachel. Same stairs, same setup. Sarah Davis has proof. Marcus's smile faltered slightly. That interfering old woman. Always poking around where she doesn't belong. No one will believe her theories. They'll believe the video and the financial records. Harrison Phillips is already cooperating with the investigation. You don't understand, he hissed, dropping the injured victim act. This was supposed to be perfect, quick, clean, profitable. The grieving widower, devastated by his wife's tragic accident. Instead, you ruined everything. By not dying, by being stupid. He tried to sit up, wincing. Do you know what that merger was worth? What I had planned, the insurance payout alone was. He stopped, realizing too late what he'd admitted. Outside the door, I heard movement. How many others were there? I asked quietly, besides the 3 we know about. Marcus's face went cold. You really want to know? Ask about the summer house in Vermont, the boating accident in Lake George, the hiking tragedy in Colorado. So many tragic accidents, so many grieving families ready to sell their companies for a fraction of their worth. You're a monster. I'm a businessman. His voice was pure ice now. Everything has a price. Lives, deaths, marriages, they are all just transactions. You were supposed to be my masterpiece, the perfect society wife, the tragic accident, the grieving husband consolidating empires. We could have been legendary. We're done here. Detective Morgan stepped into the room. Marcus Hamilton, you're under arrest. As they read him his rights, Marcus kept his eyes locked on mine. You'll never prove all of it. Some secrets stay buried. Maybe, I said, standing. But you'll never touch those stairs again. In the hallway, Sarah waited with a team of FBI agents. They found more, she said grimly. Bank accounts, offshore holdings, connections to at least 4 other suspicious deaths. He's been doing this for decades. I watched through the window as they handcuffed Marcus to the hospital bed, the master manipulator finally trapped by his own perfect plan. What happens now? I asked. Now, Sarah said, we find the other families, the other victims. There's a lot of truth to uncover. And a lot of justice to serve, Detective Morgan added. I touched my neck where the sabotaged necklace had been, the last piece of Marcus's failed plot. Will you help me? Sarah smiled. Every step of the way. As we walked out of the hospital, reporters clustered at the entrance, their questions blurred together. Mrs. Hamilton, did you know about the other wives? Was the merger connected to the attempt on your life? Are there more victims? I paused at the door, thinking of the other women who had faced those stares, who hadn't been warned in time, who hadn't had a chance to fight back. Yes, I said clearly, facing the cameras. There are more victims, and we're going to find them all. 6 months later, I stood in front of Marcus's grandmother's Victorian mansion, watching as forensic teams dug up the immaculate garden. Sarah stood beside me, holding a weathered journal we discovered in a hidden wall safe. Ground-penetrating radar showed 3 distinct anomalies, Detective Morgan reported, joining us. All consistent with the timeline in Margaret Hamilton's diary. The diary had been the key that unlocked everything. Marcus's grandmother wasn't his first victim, she was the one who caught him. Her detailed accounts of mysterious deaths dating back to his college years had blown the case wide open. She knew, Sarah said softly. She was gathering evidence when he discovered her plan. And made her his first staircase accident. I finished. But she managed to hide this first. The journal documented it all. Mysterious deaths at boarding school. College girlfriends who disappeared during vacations. Business partners who died in convenient accidents, Marcus had been practicing his craft for decades before perfecting his signature staircase scheme. Mrs. Hamilton, one of the forensic team members, waved urgently. We found something. In the freshly dug earth lay a tarnished locket, the same one from the photograph of Patricia Young, Marcus's college girlfriend who'd run away in 1995. Inside was a torn piece of paper with hastily scrawled numbers. Bank account codes, Sarah confirmed, examining it. Offshore accounts we hadn't found yet. Detective Morgan was already on her phone. Get me the financial crimes unit. We've got new leads. I walked the perimeter of the garden, remembering all the parties Marcus had hosted here, how he'd always steered guests away from certain areas, how he'd become furious when I suggested renovating the landscaping. The bodies shouldn't be buried on the property, I'd overheard him say once, thinking I was asleep. At the time, I thought he was talking in his sleep. Now, Elizabeth? Sarah called. They found another one. This time it was a ring, matching the description of the family heirloom Rachel had been wearing the night she fell. Marcus had told everyone she'd been buried with it. How many? I asked Detective Morgan. How many are we really looking at? She consulted her tablet. Based on the journal entries and financial records, at least 12 confirmed victims over 25 years. Possibly more we haven't connected yet. A young officer hurried over. The cadaver dogs are going crazy at the old well house. I remembered Marcus's obsession with keeping that small building locked. He always said it was unsafe. Condemned. More like condemned evidence, Sarah muttered. As the sun set, casting long shadows across the excavated garden, I thought about all the women who had crossed Marcus's path. How many had seen through his mask too late? How many had tried to warn others? We found documents, Sarah said quietly. His grandmother was trying to contact Jessica's family before her accident. She knew Jessica was in danger. Like you tried to warn me. She nodded. Sometimes the warning comes in time. Sometimes. The well house door creaked open as the forensic team emerged. Their faces told us everything we needed to know. 3 sets of remains, Detective Morgan confirmed. Preliminary examination matches the time frame of the missing persons cases from 1998, 2002, and 2005. I thought of Marcus in his hospital bed, now a prison cell, still playing the misunderstood victim, still believing he'd get away with everything. He won't talk, I said. Not even to save himself. He doesn't have to. Sarah held up the journal. His grandmother made sure he couldn't hide forever. She left us a map to every crime, every victim, every secret. And we'll find them all, Detective Morgan added. Every single one. As darkness fell, the garden blazed with forensic lights. More teams arrived, more evidence emerged. The mansion's shadows seemed to recede, its secrets finally exposed to the light. What happens to the house? I asked. After the investigation, it's yours, Sarah reminded me. The estate transfers were never completed. I looked up at the staircase window, remembering that night. The push that was supposed to end my life had instead exposed decades of hidden crimes. Sell it, I decided. Use the money to help the victims' families and set up a foundation for women trapped in similar situations, so the next warning doesn't come too late. Sarah squeezed my hand as another shout came from the garden. Another secret unearthed, another truth revealed. Marcus had built his empire on buried secrets and silenced voices. In the end, those voices had found their way back to the surface, speaking their truth from beyond the carefully tended garden that had hidden them for so long. The ancient radiator clanked and sputtered, giving barely enough heat to keep the twins from shivering. Outside, the snow had fallen steadily for 6 hours, ever since James had walked out into the gathering storm, promising to reach the ranger station 5 miles down the mountain. I'll be back in 2 hours, Max, he'd said, kissing my forehead. Just keep the babies warm, Sophie. That was 12 hours ago. Now, as I paced the cabin's creaking floorboards with Emma in my arms while Ethan finally slept in the portable crib, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Our phones had no service. We'd known that when we rented the cabin for what James called a spontaneous winter getaway. The landline was dead, probably because of the storm. The emergency radio I found in a drawer only produced static. Your daddy's fine. I whispered to Emma that my gut screamed otherwise. He's probably waiting out the storm somewhere safe. But if that were true, why had he insisted on going alone? Why had he taken the emergency kit from the car, leaving us with just a few diapers and half a can of formula? And why had he been so adamant about this trip, even after I'd mentioned the weather warnings? The answers came with a knock at the door. At first I thought it was James, but when I peered through the frost-covered window, I saw a woman's figure instead, her dark coat dusted with snow. "Sophie Miller?" she called, her voice barely audible against the howling wind. "I'm Diana Reynolds, Michael Reynolds' wife. Please, I need to talk to you about James." Michael Reynolds, James's business partner. The man who'd helped him build Reynolds Miller Insurance from a small agency into a regional powerhouse. The man who supposedly died in a hiking accident 3 weeks ago. With Emma clutched to my chest, I opened the door. Diana stumbled in, bringing a blast of cold air that made both babies start crying. She was younger than I'd expected, maybe in her early 30s, with sharp features that suggested she rarely missed important details. "Thank God you're still alive," she said, brushing snow from her hair. "Where's James?" "He went for help. Our car broke down." I started to explain, but Diana was already shaking her head. "Your car didn't break down, Sophie. James disabled it, just like he sabotaged Michael's climbing gear." The room tilted. "What are you talking about?" Diana pulled out a tablet, protected in a waterproof case. 3 days ago, James took out a $5 million life insurance policy on you and the twins. Double indemnity for accidental death. She swiped through documents on the screen. "Just like he did with Michael and me last month." "That's impossible," I protested. "Those policies require medical exams, paperwork." "Not when you own the insurance company," Diana said grimly. "James has been falsifying policies for years, targeting wealthy clients, creating fake medical records, then arranging accidents. Michael discovered the scheme last month. That's why James killed him." Emma whimpered and I held her tighter. "No, James wouldn't. He loves us. Like he loved his first family." Diana's voice was gentle but firm. "The ones who died in a suspicious house fire 6 years ago. The case was ruled an accident. The insurance payout was $3 million. My legs went weak. I sank onto the threadbare couch as memories flooded back. James's insistence on this remote location, the way he'd made sure I packed our life insurance documents just in case. The strange phone call I'd overheard last week. It has to look natural, like the last time. "How did you find us?" I managed. "Michael left me everything, including access to the company's GPS tracking system. James doesn't know we can track every company vehicle, including the one he disabled to strand you here." A particularly strong gust rattled the windows. Both twins cried now, picking up on my fear. "We need to leave," Diana said urgently. "James will be back soon, and he won't be alone. The man who helped him stage Michael's accident, he's coming too. They're going to make it look like you got lost in a storm trying to find help." "But the roads," I looked out at the swirling snow. "I have a snowmobile hidden half a mile down the mountain, but we have to go now. The storm's getting worse, and James has a 2-hour head start." As if on cue, my phone suddenly caught a single bar of service. A text from James appeared. "Sorry, baby. Roads are blocked. Staying at Ranger Station tonight. Keep warm. Love you." Diana read it over my shoulder. "The Ranger Station closed last week for renovations." He's lying. With trembling hands, I started packing the twins' warmest clothes. "Why are you helping us?" "Because I couldn't save Michael." Diana's voice cracked. "But I can save you. And then we're going to take down James and everyone involved in his scheme." Another text came through. "Check the back storage room. Should be more formula there." Diana grabbed my arm. "Don't. That room has no windows and only one door. It's where they plan to." She didn't need to finish. I could picture it all too clearly. Us found days later. Hypothermia the official cause. James playing the grieving husband while collecting millions. "How long do we have?" I asked, wrapping Emma in every layer I could find. 20 minutes, maybe less. The storm works in our favor. They'll have to approach slowly." As I bundled Ethan into his warmest sleeper, a headlight swept across the cabin windows. Diana immediately killed the lights. "Back door," she whispered. "Now." I grabbed the baby's diaper bag and followed her through the dark cabin. Behind us, I heard the crunch of tires on snow. "Sophie?" James's voice called from the front of the cabin. Baby, are you awake? I brought help. Diana eased the back door open. The wind hit us like a physical force, and the twins began to wail. Sophie, James's voice sharpened. Is someone there with you? Run, Diana mouthed, taking Ethan from my arms. As we plunged into the storm, I heard the cabin's front door crash open. James's voice carried on the wind. The back door's open. Find them. Through the swirling snow, Diana led us into the darkness, away from the man I trusted with my life, and toward a truth even colder than the mountain air. The snow whipped around us as Diana led the way through the darkness, her small flashlight barely cutting through the white curtain of the blizzard. The twins, bundled against my chest in a makeshift sling, had mercifully fallen quiet, perhaps sensing the desperation of our flight. There, Diana pointed to a dark shape beneath a tarp. The snowmobile. Behind us, flashlight beams pierced the storm, accompanied by James's voice. Sophie, don't listen to her. Diana's unstable. She blamed me for Michael's death. Keep moving, Diana urged, yanking the tarp away. He's trying to make you doubt everything. Suddenly, a gunshot cracked through the howling wind. Snow exploded from a tree trunk inches from my head. That wasn't a warning shot, Diana said grimly, starting the snowmobile. He's not even pretending anymore. I climbed on behind her, clutching the twins with one arm and holding onto her with the other. The engine roared to life just as another shot rang out. Stop, James's voice was closer now. Sophie, think about the children. I'm thinking about them, I whispered, though the wind swallowed my words. Diana gunned the engine, and we lurched forward into the storm. Through the swirling snow, I caught a glimpse of James's face in the darkness, not the loving husband I thought I knew, but a stranger's cold, calculating expression. There's a safe house 3 miles down the mountain, Diana shouted over the engine. We just have tow. Headlights suddenly blazed ahead of us. A black SUV blocked the narrow trail. Diana swerved hard, taking us into the trees. Branches whipped past as we weaved through the forest, the snowmobile bouncing over hidden obstacles. The twins began crying again, their wails mixing with the howl of the wind. He's got someone at every access road, Diana called back, but they don't know about the old mining trail. We burst into a small clearing just as another shot rang out. The snowmobile's engine sputtered and died. Run, Diana grabbed the emergency pack. The trail's just ahead. We plunged into the trees on foot, the deep snow making each step a struggle. Behind us, voices shouted through the darkness. They're heading for the ravine. Cut them off at the bridge. Don't let them reach the main road. Diana pulled me behind a massive pine, both of us breathing hard. The twins, exhausted, had fallen into an uneasy sleep. Listen carefully, Diana whispered, pulling out her phone. There's no signal, but I recorded everything. The evidence against James, the insurance scams, Michael's murder. It's all here. If anything happens to me, take the blue trail down to Miller's Creek. My contact at the FBI will be waiting. What do you mean, if anything happens? We're staying together. Diana's eyes softened. Sophie, I worked at the company for 10 years. I watched James destroy dozens of lives. He won't stop until... A twig snapped nearby. Diana shoved her phone into my coat pocket. Well, James emerged from the swirling snow, a pistol aimed at us. The grieving widow and the loving wife working together. How poetic. It's over, James. Diana stood slowly. The FBI has everything. No, they have theories. James's smile was terrible in the darkness. What they'll find tomorrow is tragic but simple. A distraught widow, obsessed with conspiracy theories, kidnapped an innocent family and drove them to their deaths in a snowstorm. Nobody will believe that, I said, finding my voice. They believed Michael's death was an accident. They believed the house fire that killed Karen and the kids was faulty wiring. They'll believe this too. A second man appeared from the trees, tall, scared, professional looking. We need to finish this, James. Storm's getting worse. You're right, Carter. James kept the gun steady. Sophie, give me the twins. You don't want them to suffer in the cold. Like you cared about that when you stranded us, I spat. I did care. Quick, painless, that was the plan. But now, he gestured with the gun. Now it has to look like a struggle. Diana shifted, putting herself between James and me. "Run," she whispered. "Don't," James warned. But Diana was already moving, tackling him into the snow. The gun went off, once, twice. Carter lunged for me, but Diana's sacrifice gave me the moment I needed. I ran. Through the trees, down the slope, my lungs burning with frozen air. The twins, miraculously, stayed quiet. Behind me, shouts and another gunshot echoed through the storm. The old mining trail appeared ahead, a narrow path along a steep drop. In summer, it would be dangerous. In this storm, it was nearly suicidal. But James's voice carried on the wind. "Find them, they're heading for the bridge." I had no choice. Hugging the rock face, I inched along the trail, trying not to think about the drop just inches away. The twins stirred against my chest, and I hummed softly, praying they'd stay quiet. Suddenly, headlights appeared ahead, not on the trail, but on the main road far below. Red and blue lights pulsed through the storm. Diana's FBI contact. They'd come early. We just had to reach them. The bridge came into view, a rickety wooden structure spanning a deep gorge. Beyond it, the trail descended to the main road. "Sophie," James's voice, much closer now. "Don't make me shoot." I stepped onto the bridge. The ancient wood creaked beneath my feet. The bridge swayed in the howling wind as I took another careful step. The twins stirred against my chest, and I could hear James's footsteps on the creaking wood behind me. "That's far enough," he called. "Turn around, Sophie." I did, seeing him clearly for the first time since this nightmare began. Snow dusted his shoulders and blood, Diana's blood, stained his coat sleeve. The gun in his hand never wavered. "Where's Diana?" I asked, already knowing the answer. "She chose her ending," he said coldly, "just like Michael did, just like Karen and the kids did 6 years ago." "They didn't choose anything," I said, my voice stronger than I felt. "You murdered them all." The bridge groaned as James took another step forward. "Insurance is about managing risks, Sophie. Some risks are worth taking." "Like murdering babies." I clutched the twins tighter. "Your own children." Something flickered in his eyes, not remorse, but annoyance at being questioned. "Business is business. Now, give me the twins and step over the railing." "Why?" "So you can tell everyone I went crazy with grief and jumped." "It's a better story than the truth." He gestured with the gun. The devoted husband, left to raise 2 babies alone after his poor wife's tragic suicide. Very sympathetic, very profitable. A wooden plank cracked under his next step. The whole bridge shuddered. "You won't shoot," I said, praying I was right. The noise would attract attention, and bullets would leave evidence. "Smart girl," he smiled coldly. "That's why it has to look like an accident, like all the others." The wind picked up, making the bridge sway dangerously. Below, police lights glowed closer on the mountain road. "They're coming for you, James," I said. Diana made sure of that. "Diana's dead," he snapped, "and you're about to join her." He lunged forward, but the damaged plank finally gave way. James stumbled, the gun flying from his hand into the darkness below. He grabbed a rope railing, dangling half over the abyss. "Sophie," he gasped, reaching toward me. "Help me up. Please. For the kids." I looked at his outstretched hand, the hand that had caressed my face, held our babies, and probably strangled the life from his first wife. "Goodbye, James." I turned and ran for the far side of the bridge. Behind me, I heard wood splintering, a scream, then nothing but the wind. The FBI found us an hour later, huddled in a park ranger's cabin. Diana had survived, barely. Her recorded evidence, combined with what they uncovered in James's private files, exposed everything. Dozens of murdered clients, millions in fraudulent policies, a network of corrupt officials who'd helped cover it all up. 1 year later, I sat in another cabin, this one warm and safe, watching the twins play with Diana's daughter, Rose. Diana had adopted her 3 months ago, giving Michael's child the family he'd died trying to protect. The last of James' accomplices was sentenced today, Diana said, joining me by the window. Carter took a plea deal, 25 years. And the money, being returned to the victims' families. She smiled sadly. It won't bring anyone back, but at least their children will be taken care of. Outside, snow was falling again, but gently this time. No storms, no darkness, no fear. "Do you ever wonder," I asked quietly, "if we could have seen it sooner? The signs?" Diana watched her daughter laughing with the twins. Monsters like James succeed because they're good at wearing masks. The real question is what we do once we see behind them. I thought about that night on the bridge, about choices and consequences. James's body had never been found, but I didn't fear him anymore. We had exposed his true face to the world, and no mask could ever hide it again. We survive, I said finally. We protect each other, and we make sure our children know the difference between real love and pretty lies. Diana squeezed my hand as we watched our children play, 3 survivors of a storm that had tried to claim them, now safe in the warmth of a truth hard won but finally free. The gas station's fluorescent lights flickered ominously as I watched my husband's black SUV disappear into the darkness. At first I thought he was just pulling around to the other side of the station, but when 5 minutes passed, then 10, the horrible truth began to sink in. "Mommy, I don't feel good," Lily whimpered from my arms, her small body burning with fever. We'd been driving to the emergency room when Marcus insisted on stopping for gas, even though the tank was half full. "It's okay, baby," I whispered, trying to keep the panic out of my voice. "Daddy will be back soon." But even as I said it, I knew it was a lie. Marcus wasn't coming back. My phone had 12% battery left, and we were on a deserted stretch of highway somewhere between Denver and Colorado Springs. The elderly attendant inside the station kept glancing at us nervously through the grimy window. I shifted Lily to my hip and walked inside. The bell above the door chimed mockingly. "Excuse me, could I use your phone?" My husband. "There's no phone here." The attendant cut me off, gesturing to an empty phone cradle. "The line's been dead since the storm last week." Lily's forehead pressed hot against my neck. Her fever had been climbing all evening, and now we're stranded miles from help. I fumbled with my phone, trying to call Marcus again, but it went straight to voicemail. That's when the text message came through. "Check your email now." The number was unfamiliar, but I pulled up my email with trembling fingers. There was a new message from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line read, "About Marcus Davis." Before I could open it, my phone rang. The same unknown number from the text. With Lily growing heavier in my arms, I answered. "Hello. Is this Anna Davis?" A woman's voice asked, tired but determined. "Yes. Who is?" "I'm Sarah Walker, Marcus's wife. His other wife, I should say." The fluorescent lights seemed to buzz louder as my world tilted sideways. "That's impossible. I'm Marcus's wife." "Yeah, that's what I thought for 6 years," Sarah said bitterly. "Until tonight when he left me and our son stranded at a bank in Denver. Let me guess, he needed to get gas." My legs went weak. I sank into a plastic chair by the station's grimy window, holding Lily closer. "How did you get my number?" "Found it in his other phone, the one he thought I didn't know about." Sarah's voice hardened. "Listen carefully, Anna. Marcus isn't just running from us. The FBI is looking for him. That business trip to Shanghai last month, he wasn't there for meetings. He was setting up accounts to hide the money." "What money?" Even as I asked, pieces started falling into place. The late nights at the office, the mysterious phone calls, the way he'd insisted on driving separately to the emergency room that night. $2 million stolen from client accounts at Davis Financial. They're announcing the investigation tomorrow morning. Sarah paused. "He's been planning this for months, Anna, setting up fake families, fake lives. We're just his cover stories." Lily coughed weakly, and I pressed my hand to her forehead. The fever was getting worse. "I don't understand. Marcus and I have been married for 3 years. We have a daughter. And I have a 6-year-old son he claims as a dependent on his taxes." Sarah cut in. "Just like he probably claims Lily. Double the deductions, double the sympathy from clients. Everyone trusts a family man." The elderly attendant pretended not to listen, but I could see him hovering nearby, torn between curiosity and discomfort. "There's more," Sarah continued. "Check your joint accounts. I bet they're already empty." With shaking fingers, I pulled up our banking app. Our savings account, which had held over $50,000 yesterday, showed a balance of $13.42. The checking account was overdrawn. "He did the same to me," Sarah said quietly. "Cleared out everything except my personal account. But here's what he doesn't know. I've been documenting everything for months. The transfers, the fake companies, even the other women." "Other women?" My voice sounded distant. like it belonged to someone else. You and I aren't the only ones. There's at least one more wife in Seattle, maybe others. He's been running this scheme for years, building up trusts, starting families, then taking everything. Lily started crying again, her fever making her irritable. The attendant finally approached, holding out a bottle of children's Tylenol. On a house, he mumbled. My daughter works at the hospital in the Springs. I can call her, get you a ride. I nodded gratefully, then turned my attention back to the phone. Why are you telling me this, Sarah? Because in about 6 hours the FBI is going to start questioning everyone connected to Marcus Davis. They'll freeze our accounts, investigate our involvement. But if we work together, we can prove we're victims, not accomplices. Through the gas station window, I watched headlights approach and pass on the highway. Somewhere out there, Marcus was driving away with our savings, our security, our entire life together. Or what I thought was our life together. What do you need me to do? I asked. First, we need to get you and your daughter somewhere safe. I'm sending my brother to pick you up. Then we're going to find every scrap of evidence we can about Marcus's real business. Because believe me, Anna, what he stole from the company is nothing compared to what he's been hiding in those offshore accounts. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with another email. This time it was from Marcus himself. I'm sorry. Take care of Lily. Don't try to find me. He just emailed me, I told Sarah, my voice shaky with anger now rather than fear. Good, she replied grimly. That means he doesn't know about the tracking software on his laptop, the one he left at my house when he ran. Are you ready to help me take him down? I looked down at Lily, finally sleeping after the Tylenol, then at the dark highway where my husband had disappeared. Yes, I said firmly. I'm ready. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a night that would expose secrets far darker than bigamy and stolen money. Sarah's brother Mike arrived within an hour, his police badge glinting under the gas station lights. While he helped me settle Lily into his heated car, Sarah stayed on speakerphone, piecing together Marcus's elaborate web of lies. The Shanghai trip was when I first suspected something, Sarah explained as Mike drove us toward Denver. I followed him to the airport, but he never boarded any flight. Instead, he met a man in the parking garage, someone I later identified as Victor Torres. The real estate developer? I asked, remembering the name from Marcus's business dinner conversations. Real estate is his cover. According to my research, Torres runs a sophisticated money laundering operation. And guess who opened multiple shell companies with Torres last year? Marcus, I whispered, stroking Lily's hair as she slept fitfully. Bingo. Davis Financial wasn't just managing client investments, they were hiding dirty money through fake property deals. Every family man image Marcus created was designed to build trust with wealthy clients. Mike spoke up from the driver's seat. We've been investigating Torres for months, but we could never prove the connection to Davis Financial. Until tonight. My phone buzzed again. Another email from Marcus. Don't let Lily forget me. The money was already gone. I had no choice. He's trying to play the victim, Sarah said when I read her the message. Classic Marcus. Check the attachment he sent. I opened the PDF. It was a life insurance policy in Lily's name, with Marcus as the beneficiary. The date caught my eye. This was taken out 3 months ago. Same time he insured my son. Sarah's voice turned cold. And according to his laptop files, he has policies on at least 4 other children, all with different mothers. A chill ran through me that had nothing to do with the Colorado night. You think he was planning to collect? Mike's hands tightened on the steering wheel. We found evidence on his laptop suggesting he was researching untraceable poisons. That's when Sarah called me. Lily stirred in her sleep, and I pulled her closer, feeling sick. The man I'd married, who'd cried when our daughter was born, had been plotting something unthinkable. There's his car. Mike suddenly pointed to a black SUV parked outside an upscale hotel. My heart stopped when I saw Marcus walking inside, his arm around a blonde woman I'd never seen before. That's Jessica, Sarah said grimly. Wife number 3. She's an investment banker, or at least, that's what Marcus told me when he introduced her as his new client last year. Mike pulled into the hotel parking lot, keeping his lights off. Sarah, you still have access to his laptop. Yes, he's logging into his email right now. He's booking flights to Singapore. 2 tickets. Not anymore. Mike pulled out his phone. The FBI team is moving in. Sarah, send them everything you have. Anna, I need you to stay in the car with Lily. This could get ugly. Through the hotel's glass doors, I watched FBI agents emerge from the elevator and lobby. Marcus never saw them coming. One minute he was laughing with Jessica at the check-in desk. The next he was face down on the marble floor. My phone rang, a video call from Sarah. On her screen, I could see Marcus's laptop display. Look at this, she said, sharing his screen. He's been transferring money all night, not just to Singapore, to accounts in Dubai, Switzerland, the Caymans. Can they recover it? I asked, watching the FBI lead Marcus out in handcuffs. Jessica was being questioned separately, her perfect makeup streaked with tears. Some of it. He thought he covered his tracks. But he forgot about the backup drive at my house. Every transfer, every fake identity, every insurance policy, it's all here. Lily woke up then, her fever finally breaking. Mommy, where's Daddy? Before I could answer, Marcus looked directly at our car as the FBI let him past. For a moment, I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Not regret or shame, but cold calculation, as if he was already planning his next move. Your daddy made some bad choices, I told Lily softly, but we're going to be okay. Sarah was still on video chat. Anna, there's something else you should see. She held up a document. It's a prenuptial agreement between Marcus and Jessica, dated 2 years ago. He was married to all 3 of us at the same time. How did we not know? I watched the FBI cars pull away, taking with them the man I thought I knew. Because we saw what we wanted to see, Sarah replied. A successful businessman, a loving father, a perfect husband. We were all just characters in his story. Mike turned around in his seat. The FBI will need statements from both of you. They're also investigating the Torres connection. This could get complicated. It already is, Sarah said. But at least now we can protect our children. That's more than Marcus was planning to do. My phone buzzed one final time, a text from an unknown number. He had another family in Seattle. We should talk. How many lives did he destroy? I wondered aloud. That's what we're going to find out, Sarah said firmly. Together. As Mike drove us to the FBI field office, I held Lily close, thinking about all the signs I'd missed. The separate bank accounts he'd insisted on for tax purposes, the business trips that never quite matched his credit card statements, the way he pushed for a life insurance policy on Lily, claiming it was just being responsible. But mostly I thought about that moment at the gas station when he'd driven away, knowing exactly what he was leaving behind. Not just a wife and sick child, but a trail of broken lives and empty bank accounts stretching across the country. Sarah, I said quietly, thank you for stopping him before. I couldn't finish the sentence, just hugged Lily tighter. That's what real family does, she replied. We protect each other. 6 months later, I sat in a federal courtroom watching Marcus Davis plead guilty to multiple counts of fraud, money laundering, and criminal conspiracy. Sarah sat beside me, her son Luke playing quietly with Lily in a courthouse daycare center. The evidence against Marcus was overwhelming. Sarah's backup drive had revealed not just the financial crimes, but also detailed plans involving the life insurance policies. The Seattle wife, Amanda, had provided crucial evidence about Marcus's connection to Torres, who was now also facing federal charges. Mr. Davis, the judge's voice echoed through the courtroom. Before sentencing, do you have anything to say to your victims? Marcus stood, still somehow managing to look polished in his prison jumpsuit. Your Honor, I never meant to hurt anyone. I loved all my children. That's not love, Sarah interrupted, standing up. Love doesn't include planning to poison children for insurance money. The judge allowed her outburst, perhaps seeing the same cold calculation in Marcus's eyes that I'd noticed that night at the hotel. 25 years, the judge announced, with no possibility of parole. As they led Marcus away, he turned to look at me one last time. Tell Lily I'm sorry, he called out. Tell her yourself, I replied. In 25 years. Outside the courthouse, Sarah, Amanda, and I gathered with our children. What had started as a nightmare had forged an unusual but unshakable bond between us. We'd formed a support system, helping each other navigate the aftermath of Marcus's deception. The FBI found another account, Amanda told us, bouncing her infant daughter on her hip. They're releasing the funds to us next week. Just in time for the kids' trust funds, Sarah added. We decided that any recovered money would go directly to the children's future education. The media had dubbed us the sister wives of the securities scammer, but we preferred to think of ourselves as survivors. We'd even started a support group for other victims of financial fraud and relationship deception. That evening, as I tucked Lily into bed, she asked the question I'd been dreading. Is Daddy a bad man? I sat on the edge of her bed, choosing my words carefully. Your daddy made very bad choices that hurt a lot of people. But that doesn't mean you have to carry his mistakes. Like Luke's mommy said, we make our own story. I smiled, remembering Sarah's words to the children. Exactly. And you have so many people who love you. Aunt Sarah, Aunt Amanda, your cousins. A bigger family than before, Lily said sleepily. Later, I joined Sarah and Amanda for our weekly video call. We'd made it a tradition, supporting each other through the hard nights. Taurus took a plea deal, Amanda reported. He's giving up everyone involved in the scheme, including Marcus's partners at Davis Financial, Sarah added. The whole thing's crumbling. I thought about the night at the gas station, how desperate and alone I felt. We should have known something was wrong. All those perfect explanations for everything. That's how men like Marcus operate, Amanda said softly. They know exactly what we want to believe. But we're smarter now, Sarah declared. And stronger together. We've learned to turn our pain into purpose, using our story to warn others about financial predators who hide behind family facades. The support group was growing, and we even started working with the FBI to help identify similar schemes. Lily asked about him tonight, I told them. About whether he's bad. Luke asks too, Sarah sighed. I tell him that good people sometimes make terrible choices, but it's what we do after that matters. And what we're doing, Amanda added, is making sure our kids know they're loved, protected, and never alone. That night, I looked through old photos one last time before deleting them. Marcus with Lily at the park, our wedding day, family vacations. Each memory was now tainted with the knowledge of his parallel lives, his calculated deceptions. But as I reached the recent photos, Lily with Luke and Amanda's daughter at the park, our new extended family at Christmas, I felt something like peace. Marcus had tried to destroy us, but instead, he inadvertently created something stronger. A family bound not by lies, but by truth and resilience. The last photo was from last week, all three children holding a sign they'd made. Love makes a family. Not perfect, not traditional, but real. And that was worth more than all the money Marcus had stolen. I closed my laptop and smiled. Sometimes the worst betrayals lead us to the best possibilities, if we're brave enough to embrace them.